We're good.
Welcome to the show, Moments with Maddie. I have a special guest here with me today, actor Logan Allen. You guys might recognize him from Sweet Magnolias. So thank you again for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to get into the chat.
So obviously, I reached out to you through Instagram because that's where most things happen nowadays. And I saw a lot of stuff about Florida. And as a Floridian, I had to know if you're from here by any chance.
I am. I'm from St. Cloud, Florida. Okay, so for people that are outside of Florida, I just say I'm in Central Florida because they don't know where St. Cloud or Kissimmee is. I just say Orlando and they know it. But I'm from St. Cloud, which is right under Orlando. And yeah, I was born and raised here. And I'm a Floridian at heart. And yeah, Florida all the way. It's really crazy. I'm really blessed to grow up here just because, I mean, we have everything. We have theme parks, we have beaches. The only thing we don't have is mountains, which sucks because I love like exploring and hiking and stuff. That's like one of my favorite, like I love going to film because, I film out in California or in Atlanta, and there's always mountains around. So there's always, the hiking to do, which is my favorite. But I do love living here. And what part are you from?
I was born in Orlando, but now I live like an hour or two away from there in like a very small town. But I was gonna ask you if you like the theme parks because I am a huge Disney fan, like all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad worked at Universal for like 8 years, I think. So we would get Universal tickets and we'd go all the time, like almost every month. So yeah, Universal, obviously Disney, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, everything. We would go to pretty much everything. And I do love it. And Disney, of course. We're one of those families that always have, tickets someplace. Whatever it is, we always go somewhere and it's amazing. I think my favorite would probably be I don't know. I love Busch Gardens just because you have all the animals. Like, but I guess Disney has Animal Kingdom though too. I don't know. That Disney is pretty hard because it has like 4 or 5 different parks. But I do love Busch Gardens. It is kind of a drive, obviously all the way to Tampa, but I do love Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens is probably my favorite.
Was there something growing up that really got you into acting or something that inspired you?
I was just a kid. I think most people want to be on TV. You know what I mean? Like little kids are like, "Oh, that's want to be on TV." So it all kind of started with my mom. She's a teacher. She teaches like, well, at that time
Mine
she taught middle
too.
school. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so she taught middle school at Harmony Community School, and she taught this one girl, and her little sister was an actress. And the mom was like, "Hey, I was like 8 at the time. She's like, "Hey, your kid, I think he'll do good. I think I can get him started. I'm already in the business." And we weren't so sure on it because what we heard about it's kind of a sketchy business because there are scams out there 100%. You got to be careful with what you do. And since she was already kind of established and already had agents and stuff like that, we were like, why not? Let's just do it. And I wanted to do it too, because once again, what kid doesn't want to be on TV? And so we started out doing like, print, like magazines, photo shoots and stuff, worked my way up to commercials. And then I got a Nickelodeon show in 2015. So I worked my way up. Like I said, they didn't want me just to, get me thrown into like commercials or anything crazy too fast, just to kind of see, just to get your feet wet. You know what I mean? Just to kind of see if I actually enjoy it. And I did. I loved it, and kind of worked my way up from there. And it's been a crazy journey. And believe it or not, the actress, a little sister, I was actually on the same show with her in 2015 called Talia in the Kitchen. So it's kind of funny how it all came back together. And then the girl who my mom taught, the older sister, is my brother's fiance, and they're getting married next month. So
Oh my God.
it's insane. Yeah, it's a crazy story, and it's funny how it's all connected. But yeah, we still talk to them, and I wouldn't be here without them.
That's a pretty like full circle moment. That's really cool.
No, for sure.
So something else I was wondering about was the audition process and getting the role of Kyle in Sweet Magnolias.
Yeah, so my agent, shout out to Tracy, she sent me the script and was like, "Hey, this is an untitled Netflix show, and they want to just, you can read for Kyle. They it was like a self request, I think, and they're like, here you go. They gave me the sides. It was like 2 to 3 scenes. I think it might have been 2 scenes, and they weren't dummy sides. Like they were. One of the scenes was actually when me and Noreen are in the car and we're driving. Like one of the first scenes. It's that really awkward moment. Yeah, that was one of the scenes we did. And so it wasn't dummy sides because usually they'll give you like fake ones, because they don't want to like reveal too much. But this one they actually gave me the sides. I read for them. They gave me like a breakdown of the character, and I just went taped it with my buddy Dan. He sent it to my agent, And then, she sent it to the casting director. I got the call back. So I went all the way up to Atlanta for that and got in front of Norman Buckley, who was an executive producer and also a director for most of the episodes, and a few other, people involved with the show. And read for Kyle in front of them, which is my favorite part because I love getting in front of people. I feel like, self tapes are cool, but at the same time, like, I just don't really feel like you get the best of that actor. You know what I mean? It's more personable, I guess, in person. But yeah, so I went in person, did that. And then, like, no joke, probably like 2 months later, like, it took him a while. And about 2 months later, like, I just kind of put it aside. I totally forgot about it. And I was in a Publix parking lot. And by the way, shout out to Publix. It's amazing. Us Floridians, we love it.
That's
And
iconic here.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. And so we were in the Publix parking lot and they gave me a call. Tracy did, and told me I got the role. So that was a really cool moment. And it was pretty insane. And the reason I forgot about it, like, when you're an actor, you don't want to get attached to something just because you get denied so much. You get denied 95% of the time because I do auditions all the time. You know what I mean? And it's even lucky to get a call back. So, I kind of put to the side after, especially after 2 months, and I was like, it's okay. I guess I didn't get it. And so getting that call was really cool, and just it felt amazing. I've always wanted to be on a Netflix show, so that was a really amazing moment.
I actually binge watched Sweet Magnolias like when it first came out at the beginning of quarantine. Was there anything you binge watched during quarantine?
So here's the thing with me with shows. So I actually rewatch the same shows a lot. Like, I'll kind of watch some new ones, but I literally, like, okay, so I've watched The Office like 3 times. I've watched Scream, the TV series, twice. I've watched the 100 2 times. Uh, Stranger Things 3 times. Like, I don't know what it is, but I keep on going back to the same shows over and over. Any new shows? I don't know. Oh, actually, I watched a little bit of Grey's Anatomy for like the first 4 seasons or 5 seasons, and then one of my favorite characters got killed off. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. That made me mad, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get away from that. And I watched a little bit. What else did I watch? I watched something else. Oh yeah, New Girl. That's what it was called, New Girl, and I love that one too. Some great actors and actresses in that. Zoe Deschanel is amazing, and I think those were the only two main ones that I actually consistently watched a little bit and binged. But yeah, I always go back to the same shows. I don't know why, but that's what I do.
And speaking of like rewatching stuff, I rewatched Sweet Magnolias a few times, and it wasn't until like I went back and watched it that I realized all the like pressure Kyle had on him. Like I always knew being like a middle child, he was always like a little bit like left out. But it wasn't until I went back and watched it that I really saw like Noreen leaving and like all these different things like really affected him until like he ran away and like I just didn't see it coming the first time.
Yeah, man, Kyle, man, he was beat up pretty bad, huh? One thing after another. It was that it was really just a matter of time before he broke out. But the thing about Kyle too is he doesn't really let his emotions out. He kind of hides it, and he just keeps on containing it until he just bursts out. And I think it's a lesson to a lot of people too. You know what I mean? Talk with somebody. You know what I mean? Because that will happen. It'll keep on building up. You really can't get away from that anxiety. You know what I mean? So you just have to talk. You just have to get it out before it gets worse and worse. And Kyle didn't know that, and hopefully he learned his lesson after all that. But yeah, he couldn't get a break, and I think in season 2, we'll see what happens. I don't know. And of course, you have the spoiler alert, the car crash at the end. So he
Yes.
really
Oh
can't
my
get a
gosh.
break. That it's one thing after another. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen, like, with him emotionally. You know what I mean? How is this going to hurt him? I'm assuming he'll be really traumatized and probably in shock for a while. So I have no idea what's going to happen with him. This kid, man, he's taken so much. Like, seriously, I really don't know what else can happen to him. Nothing's going to phase him after this. Nothing will.
The car crash for me, I really thought that I think Kyle is in the car. That's who I think is in the car. Or not Kyle, Ty.
Ty,
Sorry.
you're good.
I think Ty's in the car because then he can have like the whole baseball storyline and like the second season about like getting hurt. But that's just I'm sure you get like a lot of questions about the final scene.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I think it's Ty as well. And that'd make total sense. You know what I mean? For all that to happen, and like like I said, if he breaks his arm or something, you know what I mean? In the car crash, you
Mhm.
never know. And that could mess that up. And I think I mean, really, you can put anybody and really anybody in the car. It all makes sense. I mean, you have Annie. That can really mess up Annie and Ty, and that can mess up Annie and Kyle. You know what I mean? Or it might even bring them closer together. And that might cause conflict between Dana Sue and Maddie. So you really never know. Nellie's another person. You know what I mean? Is that going to mess up the relationship between Jackson and Ty? You really don't know. Is that going to mess up the relationship with Mary Vaughn and Maddie? So really every character really can have a big impact on the story, and they can just branch out and go all different ways with it. So I do get a lot of questions about it, and actually just posted on my story like an hour ago saying, who do you guys think? It's always fun hearing the theories, and some people actually like they really go into it, and there's some good ones out there. You know what I mean? I heard one like Noreen, and there are
Oh my
some
God.
interesting ones. Yeah, so no telling who's going to be in the car. You will just have to figure that out. Hopefully soon.
I actually, speaking of Nellie, I really cannot wait to hopefully see her friendship with Kyle grow in the second season, I hope, because I think they could really be good friends or whatever comes for them.
I think we just reached the tip of the iceberg with them. You know what I mean? They were having their one little date, and of course, they get crashed by the prom party. So, which we know where that led to. But yeah, it's so great, that little relationship. And Simone, who plays Nellie, is a great actress, and we become close too. So I would love to branch out and do different things with those two characters, because I think them two, especially Nellie, we really don't know a lot about Nellie. You know what I mean? Really at all. So there can be a whole nother storyline with her and what's happening with her older brother, Jackson. I feel like one thing that would be cool is if they really focus on that family more. Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
Nellie, and Mary Vaughn and the mayor. I think that'll be interesting if they kind of focus on them, because there's so much there. And I know they kind of hinted at some, like when Ty and Jackson had that whole thing, and Jackson was obviously getting yelled at by his parents and stuff, and you had that whole sincere moment. You don't know what we really don't know what's going on with Jackson, what he's going through. You know what I mean? Or Nelly, you really never know. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with season 2. But I think exploring Jackson, Nelly, Mary Vaughn, and the mayor would be pretty interesting. So we'll see where that goes.
I think they're automatically kind of painted as like the bad guys because of their like relationship with your family in the show. But I think, everyone has reasons for their actions, so I think it would be cool to see why they are
Yeah,
the way they are.
exactly.
Were there any hard scenes? Because like obviously that after prom scene, where you like are arguing with Ty, that seemed like really hard. And like the scene in the church after you ran away, were there a lot of preparation for those scenes? Were you nervous about those scenes?
Um, I think I think when it came to those really emotional scenes, I think there's definitely a lot of build up to it, just because we don't film stuff in order. You know what I mean? We film 2 episodes at a time, and we may film something from that second episode before we even shoot what happened before then. So you have to make sure that you're always in line. What happened before and what's coming up after, just to make sure you're in that mindset of that character. Um, so it definitely took a lot of emotional stuff going on, and really getting into Kyle's shoes, and seeing what he's experienced. And Kyle's a very sensitive kid, so you got to take that approach. And once again, all that anger that's built up inside of him. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff there, and I really, really focused on a lot of that with, like you said, the church scene with Maddie. There was a lot of preparation for that one. One of my favorite ones to shoot was the prom night, when I flip out right before I run out the door. That one was really fun, just because that's a big moment for Kyle. You know what I mean? He's really finally just letting it all out on his brother, especially. And what he did wasn't just about breaking up that fight. You know what I mean? That was really just about, he couldn't hold it in no more, and he needed to let it all out. And I think there's still a lot inside of Kyle, and hopefully, we'll experience that, and see a lot of that in season 2. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that needs to be said with him. Obviously, he lashed out at Bill. I think that was episode 9, which was pretty crazy. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of preparation into those super emotional scenes. Ones that were hard to film. Um, I don't really know. I mean, there were some scenes where it was very hot outside, like very hot, and so that was a little tough. But I mean, they treat us so well. You know what I mean? They got the AC right there. They got the water and everything, so they make sure we're okay. But it does get a little challenging sometimes with the weather, especially in Atlanta. Um, but yeah, it definitely does take, back to your point, a lot of emotional, just readiness for whatever scene you're doing. So Once again, I don't think there was necessarily a hard scene to shoot when it came to that preparation, but it definitely took a lot of preparation for sure.
And I'm glad we touched on like mental health. That's something I love to talk about on the show because there's a lot of people who don't have anyone to talk to. And I'm sure Maddie would love to obviously help him. And but like there's a lot of kids out there who don't necessarily have help. So that's like part of the reason why I started the show was for people to listen and, have kind of someone to talk to. So I'm really glad we touched on that.
It's amazing.
Um do you relate to Kyle at all in like terms of like growing up in a small town and like siblings and
Yeah, so I'm a middle child as well. You know what I mean? So I do know what comes with that. I also well, I'm an actor as well. Kyle does some theater, which that was actually really fun to do. Playing a character inside of a character is really interesting. So that was really fun. But yeah, Kyle, we do have a lot in common when it comes to that. And I think decision wise, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm guilty of making decisions that is I'm not that I'm trying to word this right. Sometimes I do make decisions that are best for other people. You know what I mean? Just because I'm almost, too nice in some instances, right? Instead of focusing on myself. And I think that's what Kyle does. You know what I mean? He's so worried about making everybody else happy around him that he doesn't take that time for himself. And I think once again that goes back to the mental health. You know what I mean? You got to make sure that you're doing what's best for you and that you're happy. You know what I mean? Before you can really make anybody else happy. I think that's very, very true. And you got to stick true to yourself and work on yourself first. That's not selfishness. That's just making sure that you're going to be okay, right? That you focus on yourself. It's very important. And Kyle just does it. He doesn't focus on himself. You know what I mean? And we've seen what happened. That built up rage is a big result of that. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't really have no one to talk to, and he really doesn't have any way to get that out of him. And and he just kind of builds it all up by not really treating himself or not really working on himself. You know what I mean? And we see what happened there. So obviously, work on yourself. That's probably the biggest lesson out of that. You know what I mean? Pay attention to what makes you happy and do that. You know what I mean? Be true and be you.
yeah, he definitely does put other people first. I noticed that a lot and I was like, we'll
Yeah.
see how that ends up. But
Hmm.
your character was very close to Noreen. Was it cool working with Jamie Lynn Spears? Was it intimidating at all?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Zoe 101, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I remember going into the table read, which is where we read like the episodes with everybody. And I walked in, she had her hat on and she had glasses. And it was so stupid. There on a little card in front of her, but I didn't read it. I don't know why. And I remember I went up to her, and the cast wasn't released or anything. I didn't even read up nothing about it. And I walked up to her. I was like, "Hey, you're playing Noreen. That's cool." Because I knew Kyle and Noreen had that connection. I already read the 2 episodes. And she was like, "Hi." We talked for like 5 minutes. And later that night, we were all going to like a little dinner with the cast and some of the crew. And they released like they released the entire cast. They were like the main characters for the cast. And I was like, okay, Chris Klein, that's cool. Joanna Garcia, that's cool. And I saw Jamie Lynn Spears, and I'm like, really? Like I couldn't believe it. And because I mean, I didn't see her since she was on the show. She was like 16. You know what I mean? So like, you had all these. I was already excited, being able to work with, Joanne and Justin Bruning and all these people. But seeing her name, I was like, bro, that's crazy. Just because, I would watch Zoe 101 all the time and I didn't notice it. Like I had no idea that was her. But working with her was amazing. I mean, Jamie Lynn is literally one of the nicest people I've ever met. Very down to earth. Like she's just incredible. And, she makes sure that, the scene works for everybody. You know what I mean? Not just herself. Like she's very, very flexible when it comes to acting and her approach to it. So she was very nice. And, I love the Noreen and Kyle relationship throughout the show. It's my favorite. I may be a little biased, but it's my favorite. And it was really fun, seeing, because Noreen was really that only person there for Kyle. You know what I mean? She was literally that foundation for Kyle and his mental health throughout half the season. And then obviously when she leaves, that's when stuff kind of gets a little crazy with them. So, Noreen hopefully back for season 2, and we'll see how that, works out. That's going to be interesting what happens with her character if she comes back. And I think Kyle really needs it, especially after the whole crash. Um, So we'll see what happens. But I mean, working once again with Jamie Lynn was amazing, and I can't wait to see her again and see what happens with the characters.
I was so excited for her character to like when she made the decision to finally like leave and make the best decision for her. I thought that was a really great moment, and I always loved how she shared advice with Kyle, and I thought their relationship was very special because I'm sure like there was just some stuff he didn't want to talk about with his mom. So I thought that was nice for him to have another outlet.
Right.
I love the show because there's a lot of real topics, obviously like the mental health with Kyle, but like divorce, and like the three main characters are like independent women. And I also thought it was an accurate portrayal of high school, like just the struggles of like fitting in. And I just really enjoyed that. And I can't wait for season two.
Yeah. Yeah, the writers definitely put a lot of thought into, different problems in today's society, especially, you know what I mean? And they did a great job. I mean, Cheryl and the entire writers room did a phenomenal job. They were on top of everything every single day. Very flexible with the script as well, which I love. There's some writers that aren't, you know what I mean? They have what they have and they stick to it, and that's great. But I love some flexibility, and Cheryl and their whole writers room really presented that, and they did it. It just makes our job easier. So big shout out to them. They did a phenomenal job, and I can't wait to see what they do with season two.
And I think everyone else must agree that it's a great show because it was like in the top 10 for like a while, I remember.
Yeah, that was a crazy moment. I remember waking up the next day, and this is like, May 20th. It was the day after it came out. And it was like number four. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's number four, like the day after. And then 2 days later, it was number two. And I was like, no way, we're at number two. This is insane. At that point, I was like, we're hopefully going to get number one. And I remember 2 days after that, it's like a week after, like, 5 days after, it was number one on Netflix. And I just, that moment right there was insane, and it's so surreal just going through Netflix and then seeing yourself. It's like it's exactly what people would think. Like it's weird. It almost doesn't feel real. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool, and I've been a Netflix fan for forever, and I've owned it for a long time. So just going on Netflix to watch a show and then seeing my face, it's just like, oh yeah, forgot about that. It's weird, but it was an amazing experience, and just being number one on Netflix. I mean, the fans are incredible. They're insane. And the response to the show, we knew that the show would be big, you know what I mean, just because of the chemistry. Like the chemistry with the entire cast is incredible. I mean, there really isn't nothing like it. And we knew that was great. The writing was incredible. The directing was good. The soundtrack is amazing. Great songs. And
Yes.
we really knew, oh yeah, it's amazing. And just that small town feel, you know what I mean? It was incredible. And like you said, all the different issues that they were touching on, with the society was amazing. And I was like, okay, this show is going to be big, but I was not expecting it to be number one on Netflix. And it was like number one for 4 days, which is it's amazing. And I really had a blast working with them. And hopefully season two can make it up there too.
I really liked how, because you mentioned the small town, I really liked how they definitely like got into like how a small town like has a lot of like everyone knows your business, but like at the end of the day, everyone genuinely like cares for each other. And I thought that was really special.
Exactly. Totally agree. Yeah, I lived in a few small towns myself, so they really, I mean, they hit it head on. I mean, it's exactly what it feels like. Like you said, everybody knows each other, but everybody really respects each other and knows that we're all in it together. You know what I mean? And I think every episode, how it ends with the margarita night, it
Yeah.
shows that it's so amazing. Even through all the hard times throughout, that whole episode, there's always something at the end of the rainbow, and then it's amazing. It was a great way, and the whole structure of the show is incredible. And once again, the writers just did a great job.
Before we get to the game, I wanted to ask if there's anything we can expect to see you in, like other than season two, any like future plans?
Nothing. Yeah, no, nothing really yet.
Other than that, I wanted to play a little game. It's called Rapid Fire Favorites. So like I'll just say like a topic and then you just say like the first thing.
Gotcha.
So artist,
Leroy,
food.
tacos,
Oh, that's a good one.
hmm
App, like on your phone.
Instagram,
That's a good one. Movie,
grown-ups.
song,
Uh, oh no, I don't. This one's tough. Geez, I don't know. I'll go Boots by Aaron Watson.
Favorite place to visit?
Atlanta.
And finally, actor.
Hmm. Favorite actor. I know it's supposed to be rapid, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with Keanu Reeves.
Ooh,
There
okay.
we go.
So thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to follow Logan on Instagram at It's Logan Allen and watch Sweet Magnolias on Netflix, of course. Thank you so much for being here. It was great talking to you.
Of course.